All right, so agri-science, those of you not in class today, we finished up the rest of our notes. We go ahead, went ahead and push through everything today, so that way we can have an easy week next week. So we have notes, we have a quiz, and I'll go over both of them with you. So in our notes for harvesting practices, this is where we finished up yesterday, talking about clear cutting, selection cutting, salvage cutting, and then today we picked up on replanting. The seed tree method is definitely the cheapest way to do that, because what happens is you cut an area down and you will leave 3 or 4 trees, and then you're going to let them reseed the area naturally. That's why it's called natural seeding. The only downfall to that is you don't have any idea when the trees are going to start to grow and where exactly they're going to come up. If you wanted trees planted in a nice straight line for harvesting purposes and for management purposes, you would actually go in and replant them. You're going to plant a tree that's about 1 foot tall. It's going to have a root system, and you can put it exactly where you want it. And then we just went over some basic trees. So once again, conifers and hardwoods. So the southern pine produces pulpwood. The biggest thing about the southern pine is to make sure you understand pine produces pulpwood. There's all sorts of different kinds of pines, and basically the easiest way to tell a pine for what we're going to look at next week is by the needles. Each pine tree has different needles. Believe it or not, they do. Okay. A Fraser fir is what most people go and cut down or purchase for Christmas trees every year. They're grown in the mountains of North Carolina. This is a Fraser fir. That's what everybody typically thinks of when they think of a Christmas tree. They need cold weather. The Douglas fir, we did talk about this a little bit yesterday. The Douglas fir is the most important commercial species. It's grown in the Pacific Northwest. This is where 75% of all of our plywood comes from for construction purposes. And so the top portion of our tree, right, you can see where all the branches are on here, is called our crown, right? So when you harvest this tree, you're going to cut the crown off, and then it leaves a nice straight stem. And that's where we're going to get all of our plywood from. There's not going to be very many knots. So it's a very, very, very beneficial commercial tree. And as you can see, it grows up to 160 feet. It's the second tallest tree in our country. All right. And then we just went over some hardwoods. Make sure you know that ash is used for bats. There's certain keywords that will help you identify these trees. Since it's an actual online test, you can't really go out and pick trees and show you and have you identify them that way. So you have to know them by the terms. So no, ash is bats. Okay. So ash trees, the way that their branches, it makes it really easy to identify. They have opposite branches, which makes this very uncommon for trees. Birch trees, most of the time you'll find them growing around swamp bottoms and river bottoms. No, birch is used for veneer. That's an easy way to tell that one. Okay, and it has white scaly bark, really easy to identify. It looks like the bark's coming off of it. Okay, now there's a difference between oaks. There's many different species of oak. The easiest thing to use to identify oaks is the way the leaves look, right? Their bark is different, but the leaves make it a little bit easier. Structural timbers and flooring, because oak takes so long to grow, the growth rings on there are really, really compact, but makes wood really, 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 really dense. Okay, this is a white oak, right? Oaks produce acorns. Each oak tree produces different size acorns. So the size of your acorn, and then also the way the leaves look, is a really big indicator for the kind of oak tree you have. Red maples are typically used for butcher blocks. That's a good one to remember for maples. You'll always get that question right if you remember that. They are nearly waterproof. It produces those brown little whirly birds, helicopters that you throw up in the air and they kind of spin around, right? Maple trees have a very distinct leaf, right? 3. Some maple trees have 5 points on them. Very, very distinctive. Okay, sweet gum produces a star-shaped leaf, and it has these spiked ball fruit. Now, I know some of y'all know what those are. Those are those little brown things that are really sharp. You pick up and you throw at each other, right? That's a sweet gum. Okay, and that's what the leaves look like, star-shaped fruit. Okay. All right. The next thing we have is an eastern red cedar. Red cedars are typically going to be used for fence posts. They're also one of the very first trees to appear after an area is cut down. It has these blue little berries on there. That is the fruit of them. A lot of times when we talk about cedar shavings for bedding, they're a natural insect repellent. So that's why a lot of times you'll put those in different pet beddings. Okay. Poplar trees. Poplar trees, we watched a little video on this in Ag Mechanics the other day for making plywood. So for poplar is used in pulpwood and veneer. Technically, it's a hardwood, but it grows so fast, it has properties of a softwood because they contain a lot of moisture, right? So it has a cat-shaped head. If you drew a couple eyes in here, you got whiskers coming out. So it's a cat-shaped leaf, okay? And that's where we left off for the notes today. So we did finish those up. That's a down and dirty version of it. And then I just want to make sure that you see where your quiz is. So our quiz is the 5.03 Forestry quiz. And I'll just kind of open this up and show you a preview of it. It's a very simple quiz. There's not much to it. So the first 7 is matching. So all you do is you read and you choose each one. There's one answer for each question, so don't use anything twice. Trees that lose their leaves, well, we know that's deciduous. I'm going to click on that, so forth and so on. 2 and 3 is true and false. Please make sure you read those questions carefully so you do not get them wrong. And then question number 4 is a short answer, and you can list 3 evergreen trees. It can be one we talked about in class. It can be something completely different. I don't care as long as you give me 3 evergreen trees. If you have any questions, let me know. And if not, I will see you all in class on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend.